What is up, you guys? It is your man Lopaka Rootz with my first ever video blog. Super blessed and stoked to be here with each and every one of you, whether you're streaming on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. So, the day has arrived. I have begun my adventures with video blogging. That way I can reach out to more and more of you and share my sound and share some of my vibration. So let me tell you a story. Got this amazing story about this new song called Eddie. Eddie is a song about legendary big wave surfer Eddie Aikau. If you don't know his story, he's a legendary Hawaiian surfer from way back in the day who used to go and surf Waimea Bay. Some of the biggest waves you've ever seen or ever dreamed of, Eddie would go. He would take them on and he would charge them. An amazing waterman with outstanding abilities. He was also a lifeguard at Waimea Bay. And the cool thing about being a lifeguard at Waimea Bay and being the first lifeguard at Waimea Bay is Eddie was there to save lives because he knew that break better than anybody in that whole area because, you know, he grew up surfing those waves in Waimea Bay. So yes, he was a lifeguard, saved many lives, and I do mention that in the song if you've not heard the song, which I believe will be located in a link or something, maybe down below. Yeah, probably down below. I'll set the link up there so you can check it out either on Spotify, iTunes, Pandora, or I'll even put a free YouTube link out there because I just want you to hear the music and enjoy it and go for the ride with me, Lopaka Rootz. So anyway, back on subject here with Eddie Aikau, amazing legendary big wave surfer and lifeguard. Eddie, being the legend that he was and surfing the biggest waves you could ever imagine, goes out one day on a hokulea. It wasn't, I can't really say it was like instantaneous. Like, hey, one day I'm just gonna go out on this Hawaiian-made canoe with outriggers and I'm gonna go and sail the ocean. But there had been a thing that was going on. People were questioning whether the Hawaiians had actually sailed here on purpose, to the Hawaiian Islands, of course. And so a lot of the Hawaiian local people were like, of course we did. It wasn't by accident. We just stumble upon this place. As a matter of fact, what we did was we navigated through the stars. So many people didn't believe that the Hawaiians could navigate through the stars. So Eddie and a crew set board on the hokulea, which is basically, we'll say, a big Hawaiian outrigger canoe with an overhead and outriggers. And it's what they used back in the old days to travel Polynesia and to get here and to go to different islands and things like that. So anyway, they decided they're going to navigate the stars. And they did navigate the stars. They started proving to the people that they could actually navigate their way around by navigating through the stars, of course, like the ancient Hawaiians did. The thing is when they left originally on one of their voyages, I don't know if it was the first voyage, to tell you the truth. I think it was a few voyages into it. They had gone out and they had just left and they hit a storm or a gale. Now, mind you, the Pacific Ocean is huge, and when the waves in the water get super crazy, things can happen. And unfortunately, that's what happened, was the hokulea got into a distress mode, and some things had happened and got destroyed, and they were basically stranded. Pretty sure sails or something had possibly been damaged, and they were drifting out at sea. So Eddie, being the waterman he was, knew that he could save his friends. So what did he do? He grabbed his surfboard and he paddled out to get help. He knew one of the islands would be close enough and he could navigate the stars to be able to get to one of the islands. So he hopped on his surfboard and started paddling out to go save his friends, of course. Well, a Hawaiian Airlines flight had been flying. Hawaiian Airlines, I believe. Could have been Aloha Airlines. It was an airline, regardless. Had been flying and had seen the distressed hokulea. So they immediately called the Coast Guard, and the Coast Guard made their way out to the hokulea and saved everybody. Now the thing was they couldn't find Eddie. They searched high and wide and could not find Eddie Aikau. So hence the term Eddie would go. Eddie returned to the sea because he was a waterman, obviously, and he wanted to save his friends. So this amazing legend known as Eddie Aikau still lives out there in spirit. You know, like somewhere he is out there. And a lot of the surfers who surf big waves, and of course his family and the Eddie Aikau Foundation, started an amazing surf foundation and started a competition, the Eddie. And I don't know if you've heard about it, but usually during the winter time, which is about pretty much right now, the winter swells start to show up here on the islands. Not sure what creates them, if it's big storms or if it's something happening out there. I think it's storms, obviously. But anyway, when these storms start arriving and creating big swells, the minimum height requirement for the eddy are 40-foot swells. Now here's the thing, everywhere else in the world, they measure from the face of the wave, 40 feet from the face, right? Well, in Hawaii, they measure 40 feet from the back of the wave. So technically the wave is almost even bigger than 40 feet. So all the legendary surfers nowadays, the top pros of the world, are invited to this eddy. And the thing that's really exciting about this eddy is they go up to the North Shore with the possibility that the eddy could go. They look at the surf conditions. Yes, there's a good chance. We're talking 20 to 30, could be into the 40 range. So the news broadcasters tell us, hey, this is what's going to happen. And you can feel the buzz as everybody's getting excited for the eddy to go. The North Shore starts getting packed. All the big surfers come in. All the spectators are there with their cameras and their video cameras ready to capture this amazing, intense moment that the eddy could go. Now, the thing about this song is I want to say it's a good 8 years ago, maybe less, maybe 6 years, I think. The eddy was getting ready to go. And I was up in a place and I was hanging out and I was watching the news and I was really excited. I could feel the buzz because I live on the Big Island, and mind you, the eddy happens on the North Shore of Oahu. So as I'm kicking back and I'm watching the news, I'm like, hey, there's a good chance the eddy could go. For a whole week or two, you feel the buzz and the excitement as everybody's getting ready for it. And then as soon as the waves had begun cresting and things happened, they were measly 20 plus feet and not hitting the 40-foot swell mark. Now, of course, 20 feet is incredibly still huge and people were still bombing these waves and doing amazing things, but it wasn't enough for the eddy to go. So the eddy did not go. So this inspired me. The eddy not going is actually what inspired me. I was like, I know people have tried to create songs about eddy and about the surf competition. I wonder if I can create something, or if I can tap into this moment and this energy of the eddy. So I sat there with my pen and paper and I grabbed my guitar and I started jamming some chords. I started thinking and I started grooving. Eddy would go, Eddy, Eddy would go. Eddy would go, Eddy, Eddy would go. And I started thinking about this moment where the guys basically, go, Eddy, go. And all the people are chanting as if he was surfing the competition. And I wanted to tell his story. And mind you, to tell his whole story in 3 verses and still capture the essence and the feel of the song was an incredible feat. I don't honestly think that I created it all myself. I mean, yes, I did write it and I did find the melody and I did copyright it and things like that. But it was more of the concept of the spirit of eddy and the energy behind it, I think, is what helped propel this song into existence. So it took, I want to say, at least 3 years to finally capture the moment, to record it and to put it together. And some things had happened which were really, really interesting. I mean, to watch this song come to life was just incredible because, I mean, it was already a great concept, but all of a sudden the concept and idea of adding a ska feel to it happened. And me, I'm strictly roots. I'm Lopaka Rootz. I like to do reggae music and root style music. I was asked to try to figure out if ska would fit. So we tried it out. We tried some fast ska and had this real high, tense, emotional energy. And I thought, man, I really, really, really dig that. I think we could do something with that. And the funny thing is there's an original line that happens. I had written that another time for a completely different song. And I'd been sitting back and I'd been picking this line. It was kind of like a little practice warm-up line. And it was in the same chord progression. So a friend of mine suggested that we try to add that chord, or not chord progression, but that little run of that line into the song as the intro. So I fit it in there, and sure enough, it fit. It had a bit of a Dick Dale feel to it, like almost like a surf style or Dropkick Murphys to kind of just get you fired up. It wasn't originally inspired by those things, but it happened anyway. It happened and it created its own life, and it started to come to life with its own spirit. So as we got jamming, we jammed it real fast, and it was exciting, and then da to the end. And something was missing. I couldn't quite figure it out. So I started thinking, what could I do to add just a different dynamic? And then all of a sudden it came over me. What if we slowed down the third verse? What if we slowed it down and we made it stickier? That way you're going full speed, charging these 40-foot sound wave swells. Boom! Charging, charging, charging. Flying about 1,000,000 miles an hour down this wave, holding on for dear life. And then all of a sudden, boom, you hit this calm. You hit this space in between the set. Almost as if music itself, right? It's not just the notation. Because, I mean, obviously if you hit a chord, wah, it's just noise. But the space, the silence in between, the syncopation, that's what creates music. And just like waves, sound waves, ocean waves, that slow part, that stop, that sticky, that let me take you on a ride and let's charge really hard, and then all of a sudden, boom, pull you back into the calm. The anticipation for the next big wave or flurry to come through and to charge on the next one. And all of a sudden, the song would piece itself together. Now, the cool thing about this song is when we finally got together and recorded into the studio, my good friend and lead guitarist, Pat Niskieldson, started doing some leads. He started running some really incredible leads. Just a shredder, just melting the fretboard, just burning it all up. And on one of his takes, all of a sudden he started doing these incredible finger taps. I'll try to replicate it. You know what I mean. Like, I don't know, Eddie Van Halen blasting these finger taps on his fretboard. Just totally mind blown when I had heard it. And I asked him, I go, what inspired? Because I just felt it. He felt that moment to create that. And what blew my mind was it was almost like taking the spirit of Eddie, and all of a sudden now Eddie Van Halen was getting involved into it. But not Eddie Van Halen, because it's my brother Pat Niskieldson just slaying an amazing lead with these finger taps that just melted the world and then brought you back into the song again. As if he was carving up this 40-foot wave and doing an air just pumping and charging, pumping, charging, and then cutting back. And that is what created the intensity of the song, or added to the spirit or the soul of it. So that's the story behind this song, Eddie, that I recently have released. I believe I just released it last Friday, which would be, work with me here, or no, last Friday would be the 29th of November. So the 29th of November is the day of Black Friday. And originally I was going to release an album on Black Friday, but for some reason this song wanted to be released on that day. It said, hold on to the album, put it on the back burner for now. I need the world to hear this. Or I need the world to hear Eddie's story. It was almost like the spirit of Eddie. Not saying it actually did, but it felt that way. That it was time to release this song. And as we near the season of the potential for the Eddie to happen, I think it would be incredible if it goes this year. And even if it doesn't, for some strange reason, if the Eddie does not go this year, there will always be another year. But should the Eddie go this year, maybe there's a potential. Maybe there's a potential that we get to play that song this year at the Eddie Aikau Invitational. Now, wouldn't that be crazy? Wouldn't that be an amazing thing? I believe the last time the Eddie went was when I wrote the song. And John Florence won it. Of course, it hadn't gone yet when I wrote it, but then it had gone a few weeks later. So wouldn't that be something? Anyways, I'm super stoked that you guys were here with me for my first video blog. It was inspired by Brother Shaggy from Q103 and Brother C from Q103 as well. Because they told me, just share some stories. Tell a little bit to your following and to your people, and let them know a little bit about the music and about you. And it took me a couple takes to get this one, but I feel like it went pretty good for a first blog. So thank you guys so much for being here. Big ups to Irie Art as well, Irie Dugan, and Cosmic Gazer Art, my good friends who have supported me on this long, hard journey. I am Brother Lopaka Rootz, and I'm super stoked to be here. Aloha.